Shalom Aleichem, welcome to Machin Le'ira online Smicha. Now that we're about to enter the month of Nisan, an interesting shaila comes up that perhaps people don't pay attention to just due to the weather, the beautiful weather of the month of Nisan. We know that the halacha says that we go out in the beginning of the month of Nisan, you make a bracha on the trees, the beautiful, when you see certain new trees, v'chulu v'chulu. But here there's an interesting shaila, and that is, because of the weather is so beautiful, there is some moisture in the air, and the moisture in the air makes that the trees drip water. Now, I don't know necessarily if it's melting snow no, the trees itself drip some water. So the question is, it's a funny question, but the interesting question is, that water which drips at any time in the month of Nisan is something new. It's noiled. Where am I heading with this? Noiled, anything that happens new on Shabbos is muktzah. So if there was a bucket, or if there is a keli that's under a tree or under any area where the moisture is making liquid in the air. I'm saying it specifically this time of the year because the Mishnah Berurah quotes clearly that this discussion, the keli that's holding this water might become muktzah because it's facilitating, it's holding noiled, and noiled you're not allowed to you move on Shabbos, and which we could relate the same discussion to an air conditioning. It comes to the hot season and people have their air conditioning running. Some air conditioning have water leaking. That's just air. That's condensation in the air that's causing the liquid. So it's completely different than rainwater. If you have a keli that rains on Shabbos and the rainwater falls on it, halacha says the keli is allowed to be moved if it's in a place where it's erev, meaning to say there is no issue of muktzah because there is no noilad in rainwater, because the rainwater that fell today was already in the clouds earlier before Shabbos. But this dripping, there's actually a very big discussion about this. Let me give you a little background to it. The Alter Rebbe in Siman Reish Samachay Seif Gimel says, Asur liten kli b'Shabbos, you're not allowed to put a keli on Shabbos under a candle that's dripping oil, because the candle that's dripping oil, falling into the keli will be mevato kli mehachanoi, will make the keli not be able to be used on Shabbos. Why? Because before you put it there on Shabbos, you were able to use this keli. Va'achshav, and now, oiser betiltul. You're making the keli not allowed to be moved because shemen that came off of this candle fell into it. And that shemen is muktzah. And by putting a keli in a position to become muktzah, then you're being mevatel the kli mehechanoi. You're causing the keli, not a new metzias in this keli that you can't use it for. You can't do that in Shabbos. So what is the solution, the Alter Rebbe says? The solution is, perhaps, im yesh bekeli davar hamutar, if there is also something permissible in the keli, if you want that the oil should spritz into the keli, but you want to be able to move that keli later on Shabbos, so if you put a permissible, a mutardika item in that same keli, then the keli becomes a basis ledavar, a mutar and a asur. As long as the mutardika thing is more chashuv, then even after the oil spritched into that keli, you could move the keli. That's the halacha in Siman Reish Samachay. In Siman Shin Yud, the Mechaber talks about the business of keli, that a keli that has a davar, a asur, and a davar, a mutar in it, and he brings an example of a shovel that has some afer, has some ash, and together with the ash in the palm of the shovel, there is also wood. Wood is muktzah on Shabbos, and afer is not muktzah on Shabbos because there are things that you could do with it. He discusses with a keli that has muktzah and non-muktzah. Comes the Mishnah Berurah And he quotes the Chayei Yodam. The Chayei Yodam says, Mayim ha'noitfim min ha'ilones b'yimei Nisan. The water that drips from the trees during the months of Nisan. Asurim gam kein mishum noilad. Those waters you're not allowed to use on Shabbos because they're something new that wasn't around before Shabbos. And because vafilu yesh kvar mayim and akeli me'erev Shabbos, even if there is water in the bucket there before Shabbos, the new water makes it all usher, and you're not allowed to leave a keli there the water that comes in there will ruin, and the keli will not be able to be moved on Shabbos. The bottle, even though there was water before, you don't say that the bad water, the one that fell on Shabbos becomes bottle, because of the rule of davar sheyesh le'matirim. So we see clearly that some of this moisture that turns into liquid, b'nei Nisan, or extended to our air conditioning that's dripping water, that water, because it wasn't around before Shabbos, if it lands into a keli, makes the keli facilitating, holding noilad, and that doesn't become bottle. If it doesn't become bottle, you just mevatel a kli me'echanei. So you're not allowed to do that. What is the solution, however? What happens if you can't have things dripping all over, especially in a situation of air conditioning? One of the solutions is, as the Alter Rebbe says, put something in that keli that's permissible. It's kind of funny to find something that could be with water, because you want a keli there to hold the water, something that won't get ruined the water, with the condition that the item that's permissible that you put in there is actually more chashuv than the water, and then the keli that's holding the water is not only holding something asur b'Shabbos, is also holding something mutter b'Shabbos, and then you're allowed to move the keli. Others say that perhaps because the water coming out of the air conditioning might have a din of a shmutzika water. Shmutzika water has a din of a grash shel rei. Perhaps because of that, you would have other loopholes how you would be able to move that bucket even on Shabbos.